Yahweh Sidkenu. Jeremiah prophesies about the coming days. Let's look at that. Jeremiah 23. Verses 5 and 6. The days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will raise up to David a righteous branch, a king who will reign wisely and do what is right and just in the land. What is just and right in the land. In his days, Judah will be saved, and Israel will live in safety. This is the name by which he will be called, the Lord our righteousness. And that is Yahweh Sedek. I know Sidkenu is a common way of pronouncing it that a lot of people use, but it's actually Yahweh Sedek. T-S-E-H apostrophe D-E-K, which means the right, the equity, the prosperity. Righteousness is one of God's main attributes. The first time Yahweh Sidkenu or Yahweh Sedek is used is in, I just lost it, Leviticus 19:15. Let's look at that. Leviticus 19:15. Various laws. That's what my heading is for chapter 19. Do not pervert justice. Do not show partiality to the poor or favoritism to the great, but judge your neighbor fairly. And that's that word, tzedek. Judge your neighbor in rightness. Rightness is a really easy translation of what the word righteousness means. Tzedek. Psalm 1:6. Another example of this word. Psalm, look at Proverbs. Psalm 1:6. Are you there? Blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked or stand in the way of sinners, but his delight is in the law of the Lord. I'm reading from the very beginning. On his law he meditates day and night. He's like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever he does prospers. Not so the wicked, they are like chaff that the wind blows away. Therefore the wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the assembly of the righteous. Here we go. For the Lord watches over the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked will perish. So that word righteous, the Lord watches over the way of the righteous, tzedek. And why? Because he himself is righteous. Yeah? Proverbs 21:21. You getting a taste for what this word is about? Equity, equality, righteousness. What's equal and right? Proverbs 21:21. He who pursues righteousness, tzedek, and love finds what? Life, prosperity, and honor. Yes, it does bring honor to his name. It brings PR to God's name when we walk in rightness. But remember, he is the one who is driving us in his paths, which are right, not just for PR purposes, like I always thought. I always thought that verse 3 of Psalm 23 meant that by my walking in rightness, it gives him honor. And that's part of it. But it's much more than that. It's much more than that. He is rightness. Yahweh Sidkenu. He is rightness. And walking in his paths, we become righteous. We become fair. We become prosperous. Does that make sense? So I was thinking about this passage. As sheep are walking on the narrow path, as we're walking along, we just see the butts of the one in front of us. And if we look back, we see the head of the one behind us. We have to remember that he, our good shepherd, is the one who's driving us. He's panting with the effort. He's leading us. And our job is to follow. Our job is to pursue. And by trusting and following, we become his examples. He's leading us for his name's sake. For his own PR purposes, yeah. He leads us on the right path, the path of rightness. His path because it reflects on him as the shepherd, and others will fall into line. So the third concept is for his namesake. And what does that mean for you? We had quite a discussion on namesake and what that word means. My first thought when I first started this study was that as we walk in rightness, it does reflect on him. It's a PR move on his part. And he leads for all to see his glory. And that's part of it, but there's more. There's more to this. The word name in Hebrew is Shem, Shem, which means the idea of definite and conspicuous position, a mark or memorial of individuality. By implication, it means honor, authority, and character. And sake, that word is ma'an, which means purpose, as a motive or aim, in order that it's a means to an end. So, namesake means his motive and purpose. He leads me in right paths because it is his purpose and his motive, his very nature to be right, to walk right and have us do the same. So, how does this one verse challenge you today? Will you pick up the challenge of saying it aloud 5 times a day for 7 days and let me know what happens? I'd love to know what happens. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of rightness because it's his very nature to do so. Okay, if you're keeping track of my translation, my extremely amplified version of each verse, here's what we have so far. Verse 1. Because the eternally existent one is my shepherd, Yahweh Ra'ah, I do not become decreased. I am not made to fail or made lower. He will see to it. Yahweh Yireh. Verse 2. He levels me, he adjusts me, and reassembles me as I rest in lush green pastures. He drives me, panting with the effort, to still, calm, and peaceful waters, where I can drink and be refreshed without fear. Verse 3. He brings my mind, my will, my emotions back home, healing me and mending me by stitching. Yahweh Rapha. He cures me and repairs me thoroughly, giving me strength as I am driven forward along the right paths according to his promises, because his purpose and motive is rest and rightness. Yahweh Tzedek.